organized, okay? You know, you're very good at compartmentalizing. You know, when you're at work, you put on your work hat, and then everything else that's not work related kind of falls away. And then when the work day is over, you take off that hat and then you go home, and that's when you think about all the other areas of your life. So you're very able to compartmentalize. But I do feel there's a relationships, um, thoughts of relationship, decisions about relationships and things like that might be occupying the majority of your time for this month. So that's what I'm seeing here. The second image that I saw is I see this jigsaw puzzle. It's a scene of like a tsunami, like an ocean, you know, waves coming in, not like a giant tidal wave, but it looks almost like those Japanese, you know, pictures of like tsunamis, like ocean waves. Okay, it's a jigsaw puzzle. It's incomplete. The edges are already filled in, but the pieces are missing from the inside. And so I see somebody's hand putting the pieces together. And the person finds this piece, and the color scheme is very, very similar to something that's part of the wave over here. The color scheme is really similar. So you know how when you do jigsaw puzzles, the strategy is do the edges and then, you know, group all the pieces together that have similar color schemes and then go from there, right? So that's the way I feel like a systematic Virgo's mind would work. Like pieces should fit together. And so the hand holds up, and I think it's a guy's hand. It's a man's hand. And he finds this piece and he's like, oh, it's going here. And then he tries to fit it in, rotates it. It doesn't fit. And he was all like, but it has to. The colors are so similar. And so he puts it down and he was like, maybe there's something wrong with the laser that were used to cut the pieces. So he starts, you know, turns his hand into a fist and starts like pounding on it to make sure it fits. But sure enough, it doesn't fit. And so he puts it aside, and you see it in fast motion where he finds pieces and everything's filled in. And at the very end, there's one piece missing. And then he goes, oh, that piece that I put aside, now it goes here. And then the scene just kind of cuts out. So what I'm seeing here, like I mentioned before, you know, there's a time and a place for everything. And everything works when it's supposed to, and everything falls into place when it's supposed to. If we, you know, try to change that logic and try to fit something where it doesn't belong, and we try to stomp it and pound it in, it's still going to resist. Okay, so I definitely feel like there was something that you thought was really right, like in your hearts of hearts, in your mind, no matter how much you mull it over, you're just like, it's perfect. It has to work. It has to work. And for some reason, it didn't work. For whatever reason that you couldn't even understand. I guess that reason was never shown to you. And even till now, you know, whenever that situation happened in your life, even now, you're still perplexed about it. And you're just like, well, it didn't work in the past, you know, and I don't know why it didn't work. What will happen now to make things work? So I feel almost like this, you know, it's like a infinity loop, you know, this things coming back full circle, where you're reminded of a time where you try something and you were so 100% sure that, well, the colors are similar, the edges are similar, why didn't it fit? And now a similar situation is coming around, and you're just like, what if it doesn't fit this time? What if it flops on me? Right? And so I feel like there's something coming around full circle. Okay? And whatever didn't work out before is going to work out now, because in the past, you forced it. You pounded it in. And I feel almost like you were so focused heavily on the details, on the, I want to say like you might have been focused on I guess like it's sort of like wanting something so badly and making sure that it fit even when the physical environment was not right. Does that make sense? And I mean, it got to the point where the man with the jigsaw puzzle, he was like using his fist to kind of like hammer it in, but it didn't fit. And so they're telling you whatever that situation was that made you feel like you doubted your intuition, you doubted your judgment because you were so sure. Whatever it was, it's coming back around. And now you're in a much better space where you're not trying to make things fit, where you're not trying to force things, where you are operating from a place of wisdom and allowing. And that's when the situation is like, it's right. Okay. So there's a time and a place for everything. We have to be able to see the big picture in order to understand how the parts all fit together. Does that make sense? And the reason I say that is you have some two cards here that are back to back. Five of Swords. And then the Six of Swords. I'm sorry. Five of Wands, excuse me. And then the Six of Wands, okay? So, oh, I'm sorry. This is the Five of Swords. So, the Five of Swords is a situation where we're kind of like arguing, bickering, and the sword energy denotes communication, thought processes, mental processes that might have been faulty, where no one is really getting a word in. Everyone is bickering. Everyone is trying to, you know, be right, trying to prove that they're right. And with the five energies, five indicates some major turning point, some major change, okay? And then we have here the Six of Wands, which is a victory. There's a situation here in the past. It was punctuated with a lot of conflict, with a lot of faulty reasoning, with a lot of just like, you know, I believe this, even though I haven't really done the research, I still believe this. You might have been dealing with people like this in your environment where the energy that they kick up around them was like a repellent for good things to come. Okay. There might have been an environment that you were in where, you know, let's say this, okay. A lot, if you're like ever walking or running on a dirt path, right? If you're running or walking on a dirt path, with every footstep or with every step, it kicks up a little bit of dust, right? And so just imagine energetically when you're in this type of environment where people are constantly bickering, constantly shuffling around, moving around, trying to prove themselves right, trying to one up the other person. Like if it's like laden with a lot of chaos and a lot of activity and a lot of competition, it creates a major dust cloud, like a major sphere or major environment where there's a lot of, you know, negativity, negative energies. And so it repels, you know, you wouldn't want to walk over where that dirt cloud has been stirred up, right? And so this environment was a repellent for good things to come in the picture. And so whatever it was that you were trying to do, I feel like it flopped down. It didn't have a lot of support. It just couldn't see the light of day. It couldn't rise above the dust cloud, okay? So I'm a little bit inclined to say that the people you might have had around you might not have been good for your growth. The work environment and the colleagues or the energies just surrounding the work environment was not conducive for good things to attract good things or to even, you know, be in alignment with you. And so I see you turning your back to this situation, okay? No more bickering, no more pettiness, no more conflict. I'm turning my back. And as soon as you decide to turn your back, we have a lot of victory, a lot of success coming through. And I'm almost seeing like one after another, like a series of successes, one after another, because you decided to turn your back. You decided to kind of retreat from this, from the ground, okay? climbing up into the tree, elevating yourself, seeing above the dust cloud, and being able to operate and function from above that cloud of negativity, and to be able to, warm yourself in the sun, and to be able to attract a lot of success. Okay. So what I'm seeing here is there has been a major change. Whatever didn't work out in the past, I do feel a lot of, success, victory is coming in as a result of you, needing to change this environment in your life. Okay. There's some major news associated with it as well. We have here the Page of Swords, and the page energies are snippets and messages coming through. And I do feel like resolution, okay, like wanting to make a decision, but not having all the information, waiting on communication from another source so that you can decide which option to go with. Okay. So I do feel for many of you, there's some major swift communication coming through this month in order to splice through that dust cloud and to be able to let things settle, and for you to decide on major changes in your life. Okay. And what I'm seeing as well for many of you, this is like leaving troublesome friendships, colleagues, petty people, I would say, argumentative, petty people, people who are just like, what's funny is I don't see gossip and slander and things like that. I don't see that in here. I just feel with this Five of Swords, it's like people who constantly want to be right, who have their daily agenda is just wanting to prove themselves right, wanting to show other people how smart they are, and things like that. Okay, so I feel like you're turning your back away from this. And you might at this point in your life, no longer feeding into this, no longer interested, like you're just disinterested in what's over here because you're seeing the bigger picture. You're looking at things from a higher vantage point, and you're leaving these mortals to squabbles amongst themselves, because you're just disinterested. You're disengaging, and you're distancing yourself. And with the Hermit, it basically spells out to me like a sense of enlightenment, okay? Not being bogged down with the material things that at the end of the day don't really matter, but operating from a higher vantage point, okay? And what I'm also getting, the last three cards in this deck, we have the Tower, sweeping waves of change, okay? So that jigsaw puzzle where I saw the tsunami, the theme is very similar to this card here, okay? What I'm feeling here is, I pulled out this card earlier to clarify what the Tower represents. And this card to me is about manifestation, is about, it's almost like, thinking whether or not we have the capabilities and the skills and the know-how and the ability to do something. I feel like whatever that situation was in the past that you failed at, or you felt like, I was so sure, why didn't it work out? It made you doubt yourself. I feel like it humbled you, but in a way, it made you feel like you doubted yourself. It made you feel like you couldn't manifest. It made you doubt your capabilities. And so what's coming through in the process here is you have a lot of skills and a lot of talent. And I feel like this environment here did not give you an opportunity to shine. It did not honor your growth potential. It was not conducive for growth. It was not conducive for you to utilize your full talent, to display all your skills, all your assets, it just like, it stifled your growth almost, okay? And so there is a huge sweeping change coming into the picture. So this is a mermaid here, Five of Cups, okay? Wondering about something that, like a missed opportunity, okay? Longing for something that's no longer in the picture. But I see this as like a scorched earth, okay? This is a mermaid. And the classical like depiction of a mermaid is it has a body of a fish and a head of a woman, right? This is the opposite. This is a situation where this animal has to adapt to its environment, you know. It's not happy. It still like has a head of a fish. It wants to be in the sea. And yet the body had no choice but to adapt, to grow legs so that it could walk on land because this environment is very parched. There's no emotional fulfillment. There's no spiritual fulfillment. It's just very parched. And so it's waiting for the rains to come and wash it away and to carry it to sea. And that's what I feel is coming here with the tower. Sweeping changes, this big tsunami coming in and carrying you back into the sea where you can, you know, resume your form as a mermaid. Okay, like the traditional standard mermaid form, face of a woman, body of a fish. And she is now in an environment where there's water, where there's life, where there's emotional fulfillment. And so there's something major here that will be coming through in the month of December. And I do feel like it's going to bring you to an environment where you belong, because wherever you are right here is not meant for you. It's there's no growth potential. There's a lot of dryness, and I'm seeing like, you know, just like it's an environment that's very dry. So for many of you, you might be changing jobs. You might be moving from a really dry, arid environment like the desert to a place that's in the tropics, that's by the sea, that's a lot more, I want to say like, it's just a lot more conducive for growth, okay? And we're not just talking about like a place that's green and lush and things like that. We're talking about emotional, spiritual growth. We're talking as well career growth. We're talking as well, you know, being in a new environment where you're able to develop to your full potential, where people appreciate all that you have to offer and they don't take you for granted, pretty much. Okay. So that's what I'm seeing here. Once again, it's like the change is long coming, but it's going to swoop in very, very quick. And that's a contradiction. But for whatever reason, I just feel like you've been waiting for it for quite some time, but it's going to come in very unexpectedly. You're kind of bookended by two major arcana cards here. We have the Hermit, taking time to yourself, being deep in contemplation and really figuring out, you know, what's the next step in your life. And then once you have that figured out, once you've reached that space of wisdom, that's when the Tower will bring about these changes that you've been wanting for a very long time.